Hi folks, welcome to the Wilson Combat YouTube channel. I'm here today with my longtime friend Bill Rogers from the Rogers Shooting School. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
Okay. Today we're going to talk about the Rogers Shooting School and about how different it is from any other training technique or facility. A lot of people that's been to schools, they've done a lot of square range work and stuff like that, maybe shoot houses, whatever. But Bill has a totally different technique and a different type of facility. And Bill, tell us all about it.
Well, the difference primarily is what I refer to as precision shooting as opposed to reactive shooting. And most academies and schools, especially in their basic training, teach people the precision skills, which are important. And don't get me wrong, you have to have those precision skills or you couldn't zero your weapon. But what we emphasize is something different than that. In precision shooting, you have multiple things that you have to do, and it's based around stabilization. So the target needs to be stabilized, the shooter stabilized, weapon stabilized, sight picture stabilized, cleared up, and so forth. And then the shooter starts the press action to get what we call a surprise break. Well, in our type of shooting, none of that's possible. So it's kind of like shooting live birds or sporting clays or whatever. Nothing is stabilized. The target, the close-up targets are only exposed for a half a second. So if you can imagine, they run on tracks. If you can imagine something that comes up and it's gone, or comes out from a track and it's gone, the target is really not stabilized. It just stops for an instant and then it starts back in. So the shooter is not stabilized because we start them into a position where the weapon is aligned in a safe position. We don't allow them to start on the target. So the weapon is aligned in a safe position or in the holster. And when the target operates, they have to engage that target. Well, if you've had a lot of training in the precision skills, the subconscious mind wants to have all of that stabilization before it presses the trigger or completes the trigger. In our case, we have already started pressing the trigger before the weapon gets to the target. And it's so psychologically difficult for people to get that in that it takes us about 3 days before we can get them into shooting at the speeds that they need to be able to engage. So your average experienced shooter that's had 20 years of shooting, and much of that has been precision shooting, they are confronted with a real dilemma because their subconscious mind does not want them to break the shot until everything's stabilized. So we get the experienced shooters that show up, and many times they have more trouble making the transition than we do our basic students that have never shot before. But we started in 1975, and shortly thereafter we got the contract with the Navy SEALs to train their people because that's the kind of shooting that they felt they needed. And so we're talking about a situation where in fast and furious close-up type of contact, we don't have the time to get stabilized. We don't have time to control our breathing. We don't have time to get the press. And so essentially what happens is they have to learn, and we talk about the brain has a solution. We've got a target that's moving, maybe a clay target that's moving. And how does the brain know what the lead is to that? Well, it only knows what the lead is based on prior experience. We call it positive instant recognition. So we use that technique to teach all of our shooting. So we're shooting on a piece of steel that's painted white, and it gets knocked down if you hit it solid. And so they're getting this immediate impact recognition, just like you would if you're breaking a clay target.
What size steel is that? How big is it?
Well, for our basic classes, we start them off with 22 shooting. So we use a 3/16 inch steel. So you're knocking over, it looks like you're shooting a 45.
No, I mean, what diameter? How big
I'm sorry. All of our targets are 8 inch or a partial of an 8 inch diameter target.
So you're shooting at a fairly small target.
Oh yeah, they're all small targets. And when we go out, our distance is out to 22 yards away. So we're not quite to 25 yards on our distance, but we're engaging targets, and we have what we call cells. So there's multiple targets in the cells. They're at different distances and they're at different heights, because we realized if you shot at just one distance, your brain would recognize what that sight picture needs to look like at that distance. But if you go 10 yards further, it's the same sight picture, but it's more stabilized. Mm-hmm. So the brain has got to figure this out so that it can shoot a 7-yard target in a half a second, and maybe a 10-yard target in 3/4 of a second, and a 22-yard target in almost 1 second. And it learns how to do that just like it learns how to lead a target, break the target. But it's a interesting concept, and although we've sold our ranges all over the world and all over the country, very few people run them at the speeds we do because they don't want to invest 3 days in the shooting. It takes 3 days to break the habits of wanting to see everything stabilized, and it's never going to happen on our range. So we got a lot of people that are running the Rogers ranges, but they're 1.5 seconds for exposure, and that's not what we do. We're running high speed. The target operates starting off the first 10 minutes, and it never gets slower. And so you just have to learn to work within those time constraints.
Yeah, I've been to the school twice, and it not only is it fun, but I mean, it really helps you develop a high-speed shooting skill where you're still shooting under control. You have different grades on school, don't you, for basically passing the class?
Yes, we've had a 125-point test that we run every day, and we run it twice on Thursday. So they get 6 chances to shoot a score. So it's not a subjective thing. I can't pat them on the back and say you're a master shooter. You've got to shoot the points. So if you shoot 70 points out of 125, you pass. And if you shoot 90 points, then you become an intermediate shooter. And if you shoot 110 out of 125 points, you're an advanced shooter. So it's a critical thing. And we get the military guys that come back for one reason. They want to shoot an advanced ticket. They want to get that badge that says they shot an advanced score at our school. And we've had many success stories of military guys that have come through and just barely passed. And they'll look me in the eye and they said, I'm going to be back here in 6 months. I'm going to watch how I shoot. And we've had them come back, and I've seen advanced scores. We had one Norwegian team that came out. I had 18 shooters that came in the first time, and they came back the next year. I mean, they struggled like everybody else did. They come back the next year, and they shot 11 of them shot advanced, and almost all the advanced scores are on like 118, 119, 120 points, which myself and my instructors, that's what we're doing. So it's amazing what happens once they figure out what the training is all about, and keeping the speeds up. And so that's the kind of training many of the specialized units in the military. That's what they're doing.
Well, I mean, as you know, we've known each other since 1978. I've been shooting practical pistol type stuff, action type stuff. I mean, since the mid 70s. And my first time there, I think my best score was like a 118. I didn't get an advanced ticket the first time I was there, but fortunately, the next time I was there, I shot a couple of advanced scores. So it is tough. I mean, you gotta have it together to get an advanced ticket at the Rogers School. How do people find out? See videos of how your range works and how your training is. Where did they find out about all this?
We've never kept any secrets. Well, in the original days, we had non-disclosure with the military, but after about 1995, that all ended. And so we have had people video our test. And so if you just Google Rogers Shooting School Test 1 or Test 2 or whatever, you'll actually see all 9 of our tests. There's 9 tests that come up to 125 points. You'll actually see them. People have filmed them and put them on YouTube. But to find out about the school, the best way is to, again, just Google www.rogersshootingschool.com. And it starts off with a quick introduction video. And if you click on it, there's a number of videos there that talk about the school. But again, if you just Google the rest of it, you'll see where everybody's put onto YouTube. I mean, there must be 20 videos there.
Well, folks, if you want to go to a shooting school that you will come away from thinking you had just been to a race car school if you're into cars, you need to check out the Rogers Shooting School, and go ahead and stick with us on the Wilson Combat YouTube channel. Hope to see you back.